Oh, wow.
And the people are so lovely here in Japan.
I'm not sure if I got the pronunciation right, but is it fugu? You can't buy that in Australia. We're going after this to the Hedgehog Cafe.
Otter Cafe.
Yeah, Otter's
Cat
Cafe.
Cafe.
Yeah.
We tried the pancakes.
Oh, really? Oh, okonomiyaki.
Yeah, that.
Can I ask where are you from?
We're from Australia.
Australia, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, which part? Sydney?
Brisbane and Adelaide.
Can I ask your purpose here in Japan?
Yeah, we're just here for a holiday, really.
We just have 1 week here in Japan, so we're just spending a few days looking around Tokyo and then maybe going to spend a day or two skiing before going home and visiting friends too. We have some friends in Tokyo.
So I think you have a lot of options going around the world. Is there a reason why you chose Japan?
Well, we only had 1 week free, and for us, it's kind of easy that Japan is in the same time zone. It's not a long flight from Australia, and when we go home, we don't have to worry about jet lag as well. But we also love Japan. We have a lot of Japanese people in Australia, and we eat a lot of Japanese food, and so we enjoy the culture and the food and the history as well.
And the people are so lovely here in Japan. Just the culture is wonderful, and everyone's so pleasant and kind and respectful, and yeah, we really value that.
I mean, you mentioned about the culture. Do you have any specific culture that you're interested in or you want to see here in Japan?
I find the more we travel now, the more everything just feels the same, whereas here in Japan it does feel very different, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. I think it was interesting reading a sign on the way in about Emperor Meiji and his concept of Western technology, but also keeping the Japanese tradition. And I think a lot of the world now has lost the traditions. And I feel like maybe Japan has done a good job at honoring their older traditions and
the fusion.
So it's interesting for us.
I think you eat a lot of Japanese food here in Japan. Did you like it?
Yeah, we love it. We have a huge influence of Japanese food in Australia as well. You can find sushi everywhere. I mean, not like here, it'd be amazing. But yeah, we love udon. And last night we had
some ramen. And, yeah, it's nice to have the traditional, authentic Japanese experience. Yeah,
and some sake.
Oh, sake. I think there's a lot of sake in Japanese food back in Australia as well.
Yes.
Is it kind of different eating in Japan and back in the country?
Depends where you go. You can get really fantastic Japanese food in Australia, really beautiful food, but I think there's nothing better than having a country that you're visiting.
But there are a few things here that you can't get back home. I'm really interested in trying. I'm not sure if I got the pronunciation right, but is it fugu?
Fugu.
Yeah.
Poison fish.
Yes, yeah. I find this really interesting. You can't buy that in Australia, so.
And we just had a donut that had chestnut, sweet potato, and anchovies. So different.
Yeah, that's excellent.
We tried the pancakes.
Oh, okonomiyaki.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I think you watched a lot of culture back in the country through the media. Were there any kind of difference between the expectation and reality?
Well, we've been to Japan before. We were here about 7 years ago, so we sort of knew what to expect today. But not really. I think before I arrived, I knew it was going to be amazing from what I'd seen, and it met those expectations for me. How about you?
Definitely, yeah. I think anime is becoming more and more popular in Australia. I think we're a bit behind Japan. It's just starting to become more popular. So yeah, it's interesting for us to come here, and especially we're just today going to have a look around Harajuku and sort of have a look at some of the things that we're familiar with from back home watching TV. And
what kind of image do you get from the media? For example, futuristic or geeky stuff, or robots?
Yes, yeah. I think Japan is still portrayed as a very futuristic kind of place to visit. A lot of innovation with the interesting cafes, and we're going after this to the Hedgehog Cafe. This concept is totally foreign to us, where you have animals in a cafe, especially things as rare as unique as hedgehogs. So
and they have an otter one. Otter?
Yeah,
Otter
otters.
Cafe.
Yeah, otters.
Cat Cafe.
One thing that we did notice though coming to Tokyo is how quiet the streets are. We've noticed that there are a lot of electric vehicles here. In Australia, it's slower to the uptake of electric vehicles. So it's quite nice. It's very quiet. And I've noticed a big change since I was last here about 7 years ago.
Even when you go to America or New York, all you think about is horns and sirens and cars zooming past. But here, as John just said, so quiet.
Really?
You could like hear a pin drop. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
nice. Yeah,
Last
very
night
peaceful.
when we arrived, we were like, "Wow, it's so quiet."
Usually you don't
Yeah.
associate big cities with sort of peace and
Mhm.
serenity, so it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, they didn't know that it seems like quiet here. In
So
Japan.
Yeah,
quiet.
very quiet. It was immediately noticeable to us yesterday when we
Okay.
arrived.
Straight
Yeah.
away. Usually you just hear engines and
Uh-huh.
motors, cars. Yeah.
One last question: is there something you want to do in Japan?
Yeah, we're actually really excited. Tomorrow we're going to the wrestling
Oh,
championships.
Similar, yeah. And we're
yeah.
lucky because it's the tournament is on at the moment. So,
Yeah.
and we were able to get. I think it's sold out, but we were able to get some tickets from some
Yeah.
friends of ours.
So
So
it's like a bucket list. And we're also going to the
Bruno Mars.
concert.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Bruno Mars
Yeah.
coming to Japan?
Yeah,
he's
tomorrow.
here in Tokyo tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
know
we're
that.
also going to the museum. The oh,
Whoa.
Wow. That's very cool.
it's amazing.
It's
Wow.
drums.
The cultural experience is incredible here. So I think we're also going to the museum, the lab.
Team Labs.
Team Labs.
Oh, Team Labs.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
really looking forward to that too.
Sumo and Team, is it famous back in the country?
On Instagram, Team Labs is like just is everywhere. I
Oh,
feel
really?
like yeah. I mean that always comes up on my reels if I'm looking for Japan content
Okay.
or travel content.
Well, thank you for your
Yeah.
time this
No,
interview,
thank
you.
and hope you have a wonderful time.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
頑張ったね。皆様のご協力をよろしくお願いいたします。